All right, so today we're going to be talking about this 3.6 engage day one. I'd like for you to answer the below questions. So, one, who's the divider? What is the value of the fair share? What are the bid lists for each player? And then find the fair division of the goods. So, we've got two problems here, number one and number two. Now, if I was going to answer all of these for number one, let's see, we got A, B, C, and D. We'll just kind of set it up like that. For number A, it's saying who is the divider, and then what is the value of the fair share. So we've got four people, so fair share would be 1/4, and the divider would have to be the person who values this at 1/4% throughout all of them. So we know that our divider is P3. And fair share is 1/4, or let's put a little, you know, fraction action in here. 1/4, or 0.25, or 25%. You got to know that all three of those are equivalent. So that's part A for number one. Part B then states what are the bid lists for each player? And remember, bid list is what they find to be fair. So for player one, we've got anything that's 25% or above, so S1, 2, and 3. So for player one, their bid list is S1, S2, and S3. For player two, we got to do this for player two. Player two says, oh, just S1 and S4. So S1 and S4, those are the only ones there. For player three, that's all of them. So that's everything because we decided that they were the one who separated this. So S1, S2, S3, and S4. And then for player four, if I go back up, anything above 25%, that's just S1 and S2 and S3. So here, S2, S3, there we go. So that's for number one. For number one's part B, number one's number two. Find the fair division of these goods. So now we're going to find who gets what. So what does player one get, right? Um, what does player two get? What does player three get in the fair division? So if we come back up here and we start looking at who gets what, um, using our bid list, we know S1, S2, and S3 are good with player one. S1 and S4 are good with player two. They're all good with player three. And S2 and S3 are good for player four. So the only conflict here would be that player four and player three both want S2. We know that player four and player three both want S3, but player one is okay getting S1. So we can see that S1 being here, and player three is good with that as well. And then lastly, we see S4 is only in two places. So there's a couple different ways I believe we can separate this. So we're going to just say the divider gets whatever's left. So let's start with, say, somebody with two. So start with player two and player four because they both have two. Now they don't actually have any sort of overlap here. The only overlap would be what player one, player two, and player four have. Okay, so with player one liking all of these kind of at some point, player two liking, you know, S1 and S4, S1 and S4, and player two likes S4 kind of the most. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to give player four, we're going to give them the one that they like the most because they're pretty particular here. They like S4 the most. So we're going to give them S4. You like that plot of land. You're not going to be upset with that. We're then going to come over here to our other player who was very particular, player two. Oh, I'm sorry, player two gets that S4. And our other particular player was player four with S2 and S3. And they clearly like S3 the most, so we're going to give them S3. So there's no issue yet, But what we do know is that S3 is gone for player one. Player two is good, player four is good, and so we just need to see, what's better, S2 or S1 for player one, and it looks like S2 is pretty good for that one. So we're going to give them an S2, which leaves us lastly with S1 here for player three. So everybody kind of gets what they value the most. Player one gets that 50, they value that the most. Player two gets that S4, they value that the most. Player four gets S3, they value that the most. And then player three is valuing all of them equally, so no issues with them there. They're happy with whatever. Okay, let me come down here to question number 2. Oh, I just went full screen. Let's get out of that. Let me see. I think I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to create a table. I'm going to do a 2 by 2. I'm going to call this number 1. I'm going to paste everything I just had. Oh, no. No. All right, well, you saw it. So, dang. I wish I would not have done that. All right, I'm going to go over here to number 2. And we're going to put this one in. And same questions. Who's the divider? What's fair share? So for number 1, in this, the divider is player 3. Fair share, because there's 3 players, is going to be 1/3. Or it's going to be 0.33 repeating, or 33.3%, which is player 3. For number 2, we were then asked to make their bid list. So player 1, looking at that, only likes S2. Player 2, looking at theirs, can't like S1 because it's not got that 0.3 repeating, so they only like S2. And then player 3 likes all of them, S1, S2, and S3. So then we've got to do our distribution. Well, what do they value the least? Both of them value S3 the least amount, right? 20 and 10. So that means that player 3 is going to get S3. And then they're going to throw S1 and S2 back into the pot, and then they're going to divide it. So the way that we find player one's value, because it's going to be a value of what they have, their personal value here. We don't know what land they get because they're cutting it back up. Player one's value is going to be equal to 25 plus 55, which is equal to what? 60, 80, and then divide that by 2. So they're going to get a 40% value, which is clearly above 33.3, so it's fair to them. Player 2 is going to get a value of 33 plus 57, which I believe that's 90 divided by 2, which equals 45%. And again, clearly that is above our percentage there. So they have to redistribute and use the divider chooser method. So there's your answers for 1 and 2. I'm going to save this for number 2 and maybe go back and put my answers in for number 1. Good luck on this.